Thus, for opening a sutra, the unsurpassed profound and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of aeons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. The Flower Adornment Sutra, Chapter 39, Entering the Dharma Realm, Part 3, The 10 Good Teachers of the 10 Conducts, the Conduct of Happiness. At that time, the youth good wealth reflected on the profundity of the conduct in which a bodhisattva dwells. He reflected on the profundity of the Dharma certified to by a bodhisattva. He reflected on the profundity of the places into which a bodhisattva enters. He reflected on the profundity of the subtle and fine wisdom of living beings. He reflected on the profundity of how wills rely and dwell on thoughts. He reflected on the profundity of living beings' activities. He reflected on the profundity of the flowing current of living beings' minds. He reflected on the profundity of how living beings are like reflections of light. He reflected on the profundity of the names and titles of living beings. He reflected on the profundity of the languages and speech of living beings. He reflected on the profundity of the adornment Dharma realms. He reflected on the profundity of planting and fostering the activities of karma. He reflected on the profundity of karma that adorns the worlds. He traveled progressively until he arrived at the kingdom of 3 eyes. In all places, cities, counties and hamlets, villages, suburbs and marketplaces, rivers, meadows, mountains and valleys, he universally sought the whereabouts of the bhikshu good-looking. Then he saw him in the forest, strolling back and forth. He was in his prime years and possessed of exquisite features. His hair was an indigo color and swirled to the right. On top of his summit was a fleshy protuberance. His skin was a golden color. There were 3 folds on his neck. His forehead was broad and level. His eyes were long and wide, like blue lotus flowers. His lips were scarlet and clean, like a bimba fruit. There was a 1 on his chest. The 7 places level and full. His arms were delicately formed and long. His fingers were webbed. On his palms and soles were Vajra wheels. His body was sublimely wondrous, like that of a god of the pure dwelling heavens. The upper and lower parts of his body were upright and erect, like a Nyagroda tree. All the marks and minor characteristics were completely perfect. He was like a regal snow mountain. He was enhanced with various different kinds of adornments. His gaze was unmoving. His light formed a circle of 1 shin all around. His wisdom was extensive and vast, like the great sea. His mind was unmoving toward all states, all torpor and agitation, all presence or absence of mind, all movement, turning, and idle speculation had come to a stop. He had attained the state of level equality, in which all Buddhas course. With great compassion, he taught and transformed all living beings. His heart never for a moment abandoned them. From the wish to benefit and delight all living beings, from the wish to open and reveal the thus come one's Dharma eye treasury, for the sake of treading the path on which thus come ones walk, he was neither tardy nor speedy. With concentrated reflection, he strolled about. Limitless gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, mahoragas, chakras, brahmans, and world protectors, humans and non-humans, surrounded him all around. Direction-ruling spirits revolved according to his direction, acting as his guide and forerunner. The various foot-traveling spirits upheld jeweled lotus flowers to support his feet. Infinite brightness spirits extended their light to dispel the darkness. Jumbo banner forest spirits rained down a multitude of assorted flowers. Unmoving earth treasury spirits manifested the myriad treasure troves. Universal light spirits of emptiness adorned the empty space. Accomplishment of virtue sea spirits rained down money gems. Spotless treasury Sumerian mountain spirits paid homage and made prostrations, bowed and placed their palms together. Unobstructed power wind spirits rained down wonderful fragrant flowers. Spring mountainous night ruling spirits adorned themselves and prostrated their bodies on the ground. Eternally awake day ruling spirits, wielding, universally illumining all directions money banners, abided in empty space and emitted great light. At that time, the youth good wealth arrived at where the bhikshu was. He made obeisance at his feet, placed his palms together. He said, Sagely One, I have already brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Sankhya Sambodhi. I seek the Bodhisattva conduct. I heard that the Sagely One is skilled at providing instructions on the way of all Bodhisattvas. I hope you will tell me how a Bodhisattva studies the Bodhisattva conduct and how he cultivates the Bodhisattva way. Good-looking answered, Good man, I'm young in years and I have only recently left the home life. Within this lifetime, I've purified and cultivated Brahma conduct in the presence of Buddhas, as many as the sand grains in 38 Ganges rivers. Perhaps where a certain Buddha was for 1 day and 1 night, I purified and cultivated Brahma practices. Perhaps where a certain Buddha was for 7 days and 7 nights, I purified and cultivated Brahma practices. Perhaps where a certain Buddha was for half a month, 1 month, 1 year, 100 years, 10,000 years, 100 million years, an iota of years, up to and including ineffably ineffable years, or perhaps for 1 small kalpa, or half a great kalpa, or 1 great kalpa, or 100 great kalpas, up to and including ineffably ineffable great kalpas, I listened to wonderful Dharma. I received and practiced their teachings. I adorned all vows. I entered the places to which they were certified. I purified and cultivated all conducts. I fulfilled the sea of the 6 types of paramitas. I also saw these Buddhas accomplish the way and speak the Dharma, each with his individual differences, without mix-up or confusion. I abided in and maintained the bequest of their teachings up to and including their extinction. I also knew the original vows brought forth by those Buddhas. With the samadhi of vow power, I adorned and purified all Buddha lands. With the samadhi power of entering all conducts, I purified and cultivated all bodhisattva conducts. With the power of escape of the universal worthy's vehicle, I purified the paramitas of all Buddhas. Moreover, good men, when I stroll about, within a single thought, all the 10 directions appear before me, because my vision is purified. In a single thought, all worlds appear before me, because I traverse ineffably ineffable worlds. In a single thought, ineffably ineffable Buddha Kshetriyas are all adorned and purified, because I have accomplished the power of great vows. In a single thought, the different practices of ineffably ineffable living beings all appear before me, because I have fulfilled the wisdom of the 10 powers. In a single thought, ineffably ineffable pure bodies of all Buddhas all appear before me, because I have accomplished the power of universal worthies' conducts and vows. In a single thought, I pay reverence and make offerings to thus come ones, to the number of dust motes in ineffably ineffable Buddha Kshetriyas, because I've accomplished the power of vows to make offerings to thus come ones, with a mind of gentleness and compliance. In a single thought, I receive the Dharma of ineffably ineffable thus come ones, because I've attained the power of Dharani to be certified to asankheyas of differentiated dharmas and to make abide and maintain the Dharma will. In a single thought, ineffably ineffable seas of bodhisattva conducts entirely appear before me, because I've attained the power of vows, like Indra's net, which can purify all conducts. In a single thought, ineffably ineffable seas of all samadhis appear before me, because I've attained the power of vows, whereby from one samadhi door I enter all samadhi doors, and cause them all to be purified. In a single thought, ineffably ineffable seas of all faculties appear before me, because I've attained the power of vows, whereby I understand and know the limits of all faculties, so that within one faculty I perceive all faculties. In a single thought, time travels as a number of dust motes in ineffably ineffable Buddha Kshetriyas appear before me, because I've attained the power of vows to turn the Dharma wheel in all times, so that the realm of living beings may be exhausted, but the Dharma wheel is without exhaustion. In a single thought, ineffably ineffable seas of all the three periods of time appear before me, because by means of wisdom light, I've attained the power of vows, so as to the three periods of time. Good men, I only know this liberation door of the Bodhisattva's lamp of compliance, but as to how all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, are like lamps, like Vajra, how they are truly and properly born into the thus come one's household, how they completely accomplish the imperishable life force, how they eternally light the lamp of wisdom and are without end or extinction, how their bodies are firm and solid, incapable of destruction, how they manifest bodies with physical characteristics that are like illusions, how they are like dharmas that arise from conditions with their limitless differences, how according to living beings' minds they appear before each of them, how their shapes, features, and physical marks are peerless in the world, how they are immune to such calamities as poisons, knives, fires, how they are like Vajra mountains, which nothing can destroy, how they quell and subdue all demons and external ways, how their bodies are wondrously fine, like mountains of true gold, how among gods and humans they are supreme and unique, how their renown is extensive and vast, heard of and known by all, how they regard all worlds as though they were before their very eyes, how their proclamations of the profound Dharma treasury are like the inexhaustible sea, how they emit great light to universally illumine the 10 directions, how those who see them most certainly smash the great mountains of all obstructions, how they most certainly pull out the underlying root of all that is unwholesome, how they certainly enable beings to plant and cultivate vast great good roots. Persons such as these are hard to get to see, and it is rare to have them appear in the world. How could I possibly know or speak of their conducts of merit and virtue? Good men, south of here is a kingdom called Renown. By the shore of a river, there is a pure youth called Comfortable Chief. Go to where he is and ask him how a bodhisattva studies the bodhisattva conduct and cultivates the bodhisattva way. At that time, the youth good wealth, wishing the ultimate in a bodhisattva's courageous and pure conduct, wishing to attain a bodhisattva's light of great strength, wishing to cultivate a bodhisattva's unexcelled, inexhaustible conduct of merit and virtue, wishing to fulfill a bodhisattva's firm and solid great vows, wishing to accomplish a bodhisattva's vast, great, profound mind, wishing to uphold a bodhisattva's limitless supreme conduct, regarded the dharmas of a bodhisattva without weariness or satiation. He vowed to enter all bodhisattvas' merit and virtue. He wished to forever gather in and tame all living beings. He wished to transcend the dense forest and wilderness of birth and death. He constantly delighted in seeing and hearing his good knowing adviser, whether in serving him or making offerings to him. He was without repugnance or weariness. He bowed at his feet, circumambulated him countless times, and gazed up at him with longing admiration. Then he bade farewell and took his leave. 12. The conduct of benefiting. At that time, upon receiving instructions from the bhikshu good-looking, the youth Good-Wealth recollected them, was mindful of them, recited them, and upheld them. He pondered, cultivated, and practiced them. He gained decisive and clear understanding. He enlightened too and entered that Dharma door. Multitudes of gods, dragons, yakshas, and Gandharvas circumambulated him. He headed towards the kingdom renowned and universally sought the whereabouts of pure youth of comfortable chief. At that time, from empty space, the gods, dragons, Gandharvas, and so forth spoke to youth Good-Wealth, saying, "Good men, this pure youth is now on the river's sandbar." At that time, Good-Wealth immediately went to where he was. There he saw the pure youth, surrounded by 10,000 pure youths. They were piling up the sand as a pastime. Upon seeing him, Good-Wealth bowed at his feet, circumambulated him limitless times, placed his palms together in reverence, withdrew and stood and said, "Sagely one, I have already brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Sankhya Sambodhi, but I still do not know how a bodhisattva studies the bodhisattva conduct and how he cultivates the bodhisattva way. I hope that you will explain them for me." Comfortable Chief said, "Good men, in the past, at the place of Dharma Prince Manjusri, I practiced and studied the dharmas of literature, numeration, mathematics, and the makings of seals and so forth. Thereupon, I enlightened too and entered the Dharma door of spiritual penetrations and wisdom of all clever arts and skills. Good men, because of this Dharma door, I attained knowledge in worldly literature, numeration, mathematics, seal-making, the realms and places, and other such dharmas. I can also cure ailments caused by wind, epilepsy, or states of dissipation and emaciation that come from being possessed by ghosts and phantoms, as well as other such diseases. I can also build cities, towns, hamlets, villages, gardens, groves, pavilions, and lookouts, palaces, houses, and various kinds of habitats. I am also skilled at mixing and smelting the various elixirs of immortality. I am also skilled at managing agriculture, trade, and commerce. In the myriad occupations, whether accepting or refusing, advancing or retreating, I've mastered their individual peculiarities. I can also well discriminate the physical characteristics of living beings, whether they perform good deeds or evil acts, whether they will be born in good paths or evil paths, whether a given person should attain the path of the sound hearer vehicle, or whether a given person should attain the path of the conditionally enlightened vehicle, or whether a given person should enter the grounds of all wisdom. I can know about all affairs such as these. I can also cause living beings to study and practice these dharmas and to increase and grow in decisiveness until they are ultimately pure. Good men, I am also capable of a bodhisattva's knowledge of numeration, specifically that 100 laksas is 1 koti, a koti squared is 1 ayuta, a ayuta squared is 1 nayuta, a nayuta squared is 1 vimvara, a vimvara squared is 1 kamkara. To speak extensively, this continues up to and including an utpala squared is 1 padma, a padma squared is 1 samkhya, a samkhya squared is 1 gati, a gati squared is 1 upagama, an upagama squared is 1 incalculable, an incalculable squared is 1 incalculable turning, an incalculable turning squared is 1 limitless, a limitless squared is 1 limitless turning, a limitless turning squared is 1 boundless, a boundless squared is 1 boundless turning, a boundless turning squared is 1 unequaled, an unequaled squared is 1 unequaled turning, an unequaled turning squared is 1 uncountable, an uncountable squared is 1 uncountable turning, an uncountable turning squared is 1 inestimable, an inestimable squared is 1 inestimable turning, an inestimable turning squared is 1 inconceivable, an inconceivable squared is 1 inconceivable turning, an inconceivable turning squared is 1 illimitable, an illimitable squared is 1 illimitable turning, an illimitable turning squared is 1 ineffable, an ineffable squared is 1 ineffable turning, an ineffable turning squared is 1 ineffably ineffable. Again, this ineffably ineffable squared is 1 ineffably ineffable turning. Good men, by employing a bodhisattva's method of calculation, I can compute a vast collection of sand grains piled measureless yojanas high and know the exact number of grains within it. I can also know the various differences in all worlds to the east and their respective dwellings, in the south, west, north, 4 intermediate directions above and below. It is the same way. I can also compute and know all the worlds of the 10 directions, whether they are broad, narrow, large or small, and their names as well, and within them the names of all kalpas, the names of all Buddhas, the names of all dharmas, the names of all living beings, the names of all karma, the names of all bodhisattvas, the names of all truths. All of these I completely understand and know. Good men, I only know this Dharma door of great spiritual penetrations and wisdom light, of all clever arts and skill. But as to how all bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, can know the number of all living beings, how they can know the number of all categories and kinds of dharmas, how they can know the number of all varieties of all dharmas, how they can know the numbers in all the 3 periods of time, how they can know the number of names of all living beings, how they can know the number of names of all dharmas, how they can know the number of all thus come ones, how they can know the number of names of all Buddhas, how they can know the number of all bodhisattvas, how they can know the number of names of all bodhisattvas. How can I possibly know or speak of their merit and virtue, make known that which they practice, reveal their states, praise their supreme powers, discourse on their likes and inclinations, proclaim their aids to the way, propound their great vows, laud their wondrous conducts, explain their myriad perfections, speak of their purities or set forth their supreme wisdom light. Good men, south of here is a great city called Sea Dwelling, is an upasika called Complete Abundance. Go to where she is and ask her how a bodhisattva studies the bodhisattva conduct, and how she cultivates the bodhisattva way. When the youth Good Wealth heard his words, the hair on his entire body stood on end. He was delighted and jumped with joy. He obtained a precious mine of rare faith and joy. He accomplished the mine to vastly benefit living beings. He could clearly see the entire successive order in which all Buddhas appear. He could completely penetrate the Dharma wheel of most profound wisdom and purity. In all destinies, he accordingly manifested a body. He understood and knew the state of level equality in the three periods of time. He produced a great sea of endless merit and virtue. He emitted light of great wisdom and self-mastery. He opened the locks of the city of the three existences. Then he bowed at his feet, circumambulated him limitless times, and gazed up at him in earnest admiration. Then he bade farewell and took his leave.